With the help of Hashem, we're going to do a Maamer summary on this Maamer Parshas Ntzבים-vילך. This was said in the 25th of Elul, Tavshin Yud Gimel. So in Sif Aleph, the Rebbe starts with the Maamer. It says, Lehavin Inyan Zeh Hayom. Today is the beginning of your creation, your remembrance for the first day. So we asked the question, we know that on the 25th of Elul, the world was created, and on the 6th day of creation, that's when Rosh Hashanah is. And if so, how do we say Zicharon in the Yom Rishon? How is it a remembrance for the first day? It's not the first day. The first day was Chafei Elul. That's the first question. The second question is, how do we say Zeh Hayom Maacicha? Today is the beginning of your creation. It's not the beginning of your creation. We say that today is the end of your creation. And if so, we ask the third question, wouldn't it have been better to make Rosh Hashanah on the 25th of Elul, which was actually the beginning of creation? And in short, we give the answer, and we say that it's because of the shleimus, it's because of the completeness of the creation that Hashem said, Zeh Hayom Maacicha. Once the world was completed, it goes on the end of something that was created. That's what's called the beginning of the creation. However, we still don't understand. We said that it says, Breishis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. When Hashem said Breishis, we know that there's a Pirkei Avos that says, couldn't Hashem have created the world in one day? And it's not only that could he have created it in one day, but he actually created it in one day, in one world, by Breishis. So therefore the world was already complete by the word Breishis. And if that's the case, then it again would have made sense to put the world create Rosh Hashanah on the day of Chafei Be'elul. So the Rebbe brings a pasuk that says, Achar v'kedem sartani. Back and front you created me, meaning you could read it a different way, that is final, and first you created me, I was formed. That Adam was created final in terms of time of creation, but we were created kedem originally in terms of our greatness, that the whole world was created for Adam Arishon. So therefore, we're left with the question, if Rosh Hashanah is only a concept about time, and we're counting time, we're counting the beginning of the year, that's not something that's talking about the greatness of man in terms of his intention, but just about time. It would have made more sense to make Rosh Hashanah on the 25th of Elul. In Seif base, the Rebbe says we can understand this by what it says in the beginning of Breishis. It says, "Naisa Adam b'tzalmenu kidmusinu." Let us make man in our image, in our form. And this causes two levels within the person, in two avodas that the person can do, which is called yichud ilah, yichud tata. That this is the supernal unity and the lower unity. Yichud ilah is when a person contemplates that he has only everything is godliness, and everything is completely how Hashem is removed and wondrous from the world, and this causes him to have an understanding that that physicality takes no place in front of godliness. Yichud Tata is that he understands that he has a bitul ha-yesh, he's only a creation, and he has to suppress himself in order to bring out Kedusha. The Rebbe takes it a little bit further here, and he says more specifically that the person can also affect his actions. When a person thinks about how wondrous Hashem is from the world, it causes all of his actions to be just godliness. However, when a person is on Yichud Tata, then it's that the person is a Metzius, he's in existence, but that he has to force himself and he has to suppress himself in order to bring out the Kedusha. And the Rebbe says that in order for us to get to these two levels, we need to have what's called a nesinas koyach, a potential from above that Hashem gives us, not only to reach the Yichud Tata, the lower level of Yichud of Hashem, but even the higher level where we understand that everything is godliness. We need a nesinas koyach from them, from above. So therefore we're left with the question, okay, so it makes sense that the person was kedem l'mais breishis, that we can understand that the person has a tselem and a demus, he has a image and a likeness to above, therefore everything in the world is dependent on him. So it does make sense that on Rosh Hashanah, which is on the 6th day of creation, that was set up when man was created. In Seif Gimel, the Rebbe goes on and he says, but really that's only when a person is straight. What about when a person has sinned? And he says, the Rebbe goes on and explains, what does the Yetzer Hara come to do to get us to go off the path? And the Rebbe says that the Yetzer Hara does one of two things. First, he comes and he tells you what's the big deal that you missed out on this one specific detail of serving Hashem. That's not such a big deal. You're really doing all the other service. That's the first argument he makes. And the second one is that he comes and he says, who are you to in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is before the world was created and after the world was created, he is exactly the same. Who are you that is made up of physicality to come and serve Hashem Yisparach? And the Yetzer Hara comes and tries to get you to go down, and eventually comes and he completely takes you over. The Rebbe goes on and he says the eitzah for this, the advice for this is that a person should bring karbanos, he should bring a carbon. And he asks the question, what is a carbon made up of? That the carbon is made up of doimim, sameach, and achai. It's made up of animate, which is the salt. It's made up of sameach, which is the flour. It's made up of achai, which is the animal that we're bringing. And the Rebbe asks an interesting question. How is it that a person who is Salmenu Kidmusenu, who is very high, he is the image of Hashem, he is the likeness of Hashem, could get an atonement through karbanos that are lower than him? And the Rebbe says that the whole concept is that the karbanos in their source are actually higher than the person. Therefore, the karbanos which are higher in source than the person, the Rebbe says in Seif Dalid, are actually showing how these things are prefaced to Hashem, to man, that the person is actually lower than the karbanos which are coming from the world of Tikkun. So now again we're back with the same question. If the creations that are doimim sameachai are higher than the person in their source, now it's showing that actually it does make more sense that we should be setting up Rosh Hashanah on the 25th of Elul, which is Zeh Hayom Tchilas Ma'asecha, because they were actually created not only in time were those things created, were the things of Karbanos created in time sooner, but actually also in terms of Maila, in terms of the benefit that they have, in terms of the quality of these things, are actually higher than the person because they come from the world of Tikkun, of Tohu, which is higher than Tikkun. Therefore, it does make sense why we should set up Rosh Hashanah on 25th of Elul. The Rebbe then goes on and he gives a different explanation to compare what is happening when we bring a karbanos. And the Rebbe brings a medrash, that the medrash says that if a person sins, they asked 4 different concepts of how the person can get atonement. So the Rebbe says that we asked Chachma what to do, and Chachma said that evil is going to go after the person for the rest of his life. We asked Nevuah, we asked prophecy, what should a person do, and it says, let him die, that through the death he's going to attain an atonement. And then we asked Chachma, what should he do, and Chachma said, Torah said, let him bring a carbon, and he will be atoned through the carbon, which is what we mentioned above. The Rebbe said all these things are like an intermediary between the Jew and how he can attain atonement. But then the Medrash says that they asked the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what should a sinner do in order to attain atonement? And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Yaiseh Shuva Yischaper Loi. Let him do Teshuvah, and he will be atoned for it. So the Rebbe explains that just like the karbanos, which was given by the Torah, the answer that the Torah gives, what should a person do in order to attain atonement, is let him bring a carbon. This is the way the Torah, which is called Chachma, is telling us how to do it, and the way that the Torah is acting as an intermediary between the Jew and Hashem. And true, the Zohar says that the connection between the Jew and Hashem is through the Torah. Yes, that's true, but then there's a level that is one step higher than that, and that is the level of tshuva. And the Rebbe says that tshuva is leading a person and brings out the essence of the person, the way he is connected to Hashem in an essential way. And the Rebbe brings another medrash that says, "B'min nimlach b'mnishosehem shel tzadikim." Who did Hashem consult with when he created the world? And it says that he consulted with the tzadikim. So this is connected to what we said in Ntzeben-vילך. It says that the Jews and the Torah prefaced the world, and we don't know which one prefaced. And Ntzeben-vילך ends off and it says that the Jews prefaced the world. How do we know? Because the Torah itself says, Daber el b'nei Yisrael, Savis b'nei Yisrael. And here the Torah is coming and telling us who to command and who to say to. Therefore, the Jews preface the world. So you see from here, if the Jews even preface the world, and the Jews even preface the Torah, that the Jew is actually higher than the world, higher than the Torah. So now we can go back to what we said in Seif Vav, that this is why we say Zeh Hayom Tchilas Ma'asecha. Because the Jew, through his level of tshuva and through his essential connection to Hashem, he is called kedem, he is called original, he is called techila. Not the way that we said with all the arguments that we said that the Torah is something where the karbanos are original, but even the person is the one who is kedem and is connected to Hashem. And not only is it in terms of his greatness that the whole world was created for Adam Arishon, for man, but even in terms of time. Because the Jew with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu consulted with the Jew and said, should we make a world? And the Jew made a decision to make the world. When that happened, the Jew actually established time and space. Therefore, since the Jew established time, not only were we kedem in terms of our quality of everything in the world, but we were even kedem in terms of time because we prefaced time, and that is what it means, Zeh Hayom Tchilas Ma'asecha.